Now let's look at a day in the life of Peter, who's performing relevancy analysis. So I'm going to log in as Peter. Now the system remembers where I logged in last. So after it's done collecting the data, it's going to put me in relevancy analysis for the offeror Stark Enterprises that I've been assigned to. Now I want to point out a really important feature that's going to help someone like me, Peter. And that is the ability to filter out what gets displayed here. Now Stark Enterprises could have a very long list of contracts, and we have to have a way to make my experience as someone who's an evaluator be reasonable, and so that I'm not overwhelmed with information I don't need. So some of the things that are in place to help with that, one of these filters, I can click on this box and it'll only show me my contracts. So when I look here, I see there's only one. There's one that was assigned to me in the prior video. If I uncheck it, of course, there's two. Okay. So let's keep that checked. The other thing is this could still be a long list, so I may want to filter it down even more by entity. So this is going to show me only the contracts for the entity ABC. And by looking at this, I could see I don't have any assignments for entity ABC. I only have assignments at the moment for entity XXX, just shown right here. So these are techniques to prevent us from being overwhelmed. The other thing I wanted to point out is this last checkbox over here called active contracts. And if I click that on, and let's just go back to the parent for a second. If I click that on, notice I only have one. This only shows me contracts that are active. And by active is going to be based upon the assignment status that we looked at earlier. So if it is ready to work on in a either pre-proposal or proposal state, then it'll show up in the list. And if there's still work to be done for the relevancy analysis, then it'll show up as active. If the relevancy analysis is complete or isn't ready to be started yet, it won't show up on my radar. So this could also be a very handy tool for limiting exactly what I can see and how long the list of items are in here. Relevant contracts is another filter that will become more important for past performance and corporate experience evaluation. If I am assigned to do that kind of work, I'll click that on and say, just show me contracts that are relevant, because ones that are not relevant, I'm not going to do past performance evaluation on. So that's yet another handy filter that's built into this user interface. So from here I can go in and I can perform some things for me to work on. It will ask me to evaluate recency, similarity, dollar value comparable, and ultimately to put in a score here, whether it's relevant or not. I should say a determination of whether it's relevant or not, and the rationale for it. Okay. The stuff on the right is just reference information. So we would have already filled out more information about the entity by this time in the process. Not myself, not Peter, but someone else would have done that. Same thing is true with the contract reference. And again, I want to remind you that this is very configurable. We've uploaded a lot of information about the contract. We ought to select the data items that we think are helpful to do this job to be shown on the right-hand side. But see, this is a general pattern of this solution, is items on the right are generally informational, while items on the left is where you'll actually do some work. Now, over here, I want to point out that when evaluating recency, click the edit button so I can do so, I have this various date information that was fed in automatically from the PP1. If something's missing, like over here, we can go back and fill it in. What I want to point out, though, is whenever you see this exclamation mark, this indicates we have a calculated field. And if it's red, it means that the value that's being displayed and that's been saved does not match the algorithm for the calculation. So if I click on that, it'll actually do the calculation and tell me the contract is not recent. Now, you can override that and if you want, but if you do that, it will turn red again, indicating that what you've entered in here does not match the calculated value. So the intent of this feature is to allow us to automatically calculate field values, but also, in a pinch, if it's necessary, override them. So anyway, I'm going to go with the calculated value here. We also have over here the ability to enter in a binary value, which is true, false, or the third option, which is no value and no input. And is this a valid POP? I'm going to say sure, it is. And we can save that. That's how we might evaluate recency. Evaluating similarity, what we have is the reference to contract section numbers that was provided in the PP1. So we can go in here and, based upon these different factors, go in, review these sections in the contract, and then decide, are they similar or not. And this scale is programmable for project to project. So if your project uses a slight variation, instead of having 3 levels, you have 2 levels or 4 levels. We can adjust that on a project-wide basis. Pretty much like anything else that's on this user interface. Evaluating the dollar comparable.